Well, hello, everybody. Dennis Prager, and not Otto, but Snoopy. And there are many ways of looking at the change that has transpired over these last few months. Otto is sick of sitting there the whole time. That's one possible. But here's another read. He wanted to give Snoopy a chance to have the limelight.
Very generous.
Which do you think it is? Okay, we won't go there because we all know what it is. All right. Oh, yeah, it's inconceivable. It's too abstract for an animal to think that way. Welcome to the Fireside Chat number 276. My chance to offer you some spontaneous thoughts, take your questions, and hopefully touch your life. So let me read to you something here from the British newspaper, The Telegraph. We went too far with COVID restrictions, says Germany's pro-lockdown minister. A man by the name of Karl Lauterbach, who happens to be a doctor and was a member of the German parliament and was the head of the lockdown program in Germany, big advocate of lockdowns, and now says we went too far. So, for example, he says, much of what we did was right. I don't think so, but what was idiocy, he used that word idiocy, was the things like jogging with masks or rules for outdoors. Well, does that remind you of the United States of America? How many people were jogging with masks? And I'll never forget the guy arrested where I live in Southern California on the Pacific Beach. Whoa, is that Otto?
Otto's busting in.
Oh, Otto was annoyed that we started without him. Sorry, Otto. There are consequences in life. That'll tell him.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I remember this guy, he was arrested on the beach alone without a mask, or even known, not even just without a mask, that he was outside of his home. He should have been at home. He went to a beach. Why am I telling you this? Oh, and one other thing. He says it was so wrong what was a mistake was the long school closures. Oh, guess who said that? People like me the whole time, remember? And how we were hated and ostracized. Not that it bothers me. It doesn't bother me for me. It bothered me for my society. That people who said things that were commonsensical were considered giving you misinformation. It's the government and the CDC in America, the medical authorities and the government that gave you wrong information. The head of New Zealand, I played this so often, said, if you do not hear it from the government, it is not true. And the vast majority of people in New Zealand believed her. I wonder, will they pay any price, all these governments that misled their populations about closing schools and masks? And yes, I dare say vaccinating young people, for example, where in Denmark, it's very ill-advised to get a vaccine today if you're under 50 years of age, just as one example. So how did I know, a non-doctor, a non-epidemiologist, a quote, non-expert, how did I know what the experts didn't know? Well, for one thing, I use common sense. I believe that nature or God has granted human beings the ability to think, even if they're not experts. I don't claim to know as much about mitochondria as a doctor does, but I do claim to have at least as much common sense as a doctor does. And I utilized it, and I was not alone. And I read, and I read, and I read, and there were many doctors who spoke out, but they were, of course, accused of misinformation by groups that monitor these things, like the quote-unquote fact checkers. I can't emphasize enough that you must draw conclusions from this. Some of us should be more trusted, and some should be less trusted. After the fiasco known as the lockdowns and the masks and the rest. But what I really wanted to talk to you about is another article, this week's Washington Post, about a report from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control in America, one of the most misleading groups in the United States, whose reputation has been so shattered for giving bad advice that I believe all the heads of the CDC should resign, and they should go into, what field should they go into? Well, every field necessitates common sense. So maybe they should just retire and play golf. Whatever it is, this is the latest. Teen girls are unhappier than ever, says the CDC. So I want to read to you just a little of the report from the Washington Post about teenage girls in the United States. Okay, nearly 1 in 3 high school girls reported in 2021 that they were seriously considering suicide, up nearly 60% from just a decade ago, according to new findings from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. 1 in 3 high school girls 2 years ago considered committing suicide. That's very high if that's true. I do believe that a vast number of young people in my country are in bad shape. And this bad shape was completely induced by ideology, specifically by the progressives, the left, the woke, whatever you want to call them. As I have noted on many occasions, everything that gives life joy has been removed, virtually everything, if not everything, from young people. Well, where should I begin? How is God and religion? I know that if you're a secular person, you think that that's irrelevant, but it's obviously not. Religious kids are way happier than secular kids. That's one example. They've been given no belief actually in anything positive, like their own country. Basically, they were told this, as I've told you many times. Your past is awful and your future is awful. That would depress me if I were a kid. As an American kid, my past is just racist, hate-filled, imperialist, colonialist, white supremacist, and my future is death at the hands of climate change. Well, that'll do it. Add that to the no religion in their lives, no God, no religion. How about no patriotism, no love of country? That's a very big deal in a lot of young people's lives. And let's see, they were deprived of God, of country, of a past that they should be proud of, but are not allowed to be, a future that will bring them death. Wow. Oh, I forgot. And not only that, young girl, you may not even be a girl. You may be a boy. At this point, I just want to tell you that for the rest of the Fireside Chat, please go to PragerU.com, and there's a reason for this. We have reason to fear, because that's what big tech does. Any day, they can just say, PragerU is giving you misinformation, which is the left's term for we disagree with it. And that means you would have no access to the Fireside Chat and much else that we do. So please go now to PragerU.com for the remainder of this important Fireside Chat. Thanks.